Haha, no water on the floor. That is awesome. Hey YouTube, how's it going? As you can see, we've got the discus breeding setup totally set up and running. It's not too loud. It's about as loud as a normal conversation. The loudest thing in here is the water trickling. So let me give you a rundown on how this thing works and how awesomely easy it is to do water changes. Alright, first things first, let's start with the overflow. As water is pumped up into my top two tanks, I have a PVC overflow in each of them. If you want to learn how to build this, I can do a video, but the most informative video is done by Joey over at King of DIY. Go check him out, some great videos. Now he makes these things sound really easy to build, and they are, but they're kind of temperamental. You got to play with them a little bit to get them to work. Sometimes priming them can be a pain, so just keep at it. Don't throw them on something and expect them to work right away. You want to be standing there just in case they don't. Water flows down out of my top two tanks into this center bar that has 6 outlets. They each trickle down into my bottom 5 tanks. And I put ball valves on each of these. All this tubing, this PVC pipe is 1 inch. All these ball valves allow me to individually change the flow based on the size of fish I have in here, etc. Like this one right here, I've got a mom cichlid. Again guys, I don't know what this is. If you know, please tell me. I looked everywhere, I found pictures of it, but I can't find a name. Anyway, she's about to spit her young, and I don't want the current to be too strong for them, so I've got that one toned down quite a bit. Over here I've got some other juveniles, a batch that she had maybe a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago, and they're a little over ½ an inch. They're getting close to 1 inch. So I got the water a little higher on them, but turned down a bit. Right over here, here's the father. Don't know if you can see him in there. He's got the same stripe pattern, but he turns black when he's sexually mature. Over here, I've got, you can barely see him, one's hiding in the overflow in the back, one's in the pipe on the floor. These are black convex cichlids. Over here, I've got a marble cichlid. I don't know if that's the actual name, but that's what I call them. And then another one of those stripy ones in the back. So I can adjust the flow different to each of those. Like let's say I had Plecostomus in one, I could crank the flow up and get it flowing through there so that they feel at home. Let's go around to the back. Now after the water enters those bottom 5, I have identical overflows to the top 2 overflows. They're the same thing, they're just a little shorter to fit the tank. And they all overflow into this 2-inch drain pipe. I marked out where they met and drilled holes, a little over 1-inch holes, and stuck them down in there. Now, the one thing you need to know with these kinds of overflows is sometimes you can get air bubbles stuck in the top here. It doesn't happen very often, but sometimes you can. If it happens, you can lose your siphon and the overflow will stop working. So that's what these tubes are. Each of these overflows, the top 2 included, I have connected with a check valve drilled right in here at the highest point to these Tom Aqualifter pumps. These pumps are about $15 a piece. So I had to get, let's see, I had to get 8 of them. So that definitely added to the expense of this build. But if you're just doing one overflow and you're going to be checking it a lot, you can put a check valve and then just a piece of pipe that comes off at ends, and you can suck on it to get that air out if that ever happens. But this ensures that if the power goes out or something happens, when everything starts running again, that's going to suck out all the air and I won't ever have to deal with the overflows not working. So then it runs down into my sump here, which as you can see is a fluidized media sump. I have 2 different kinds of media in there. I have K1 Caldness, and I have, you can see the darker masses floating on the top. That is called biomotion. It is sintered glass balls, and from everything I've read, it says that it is even more efficient than K1, so we're going to test it out here. I've heard that K1 is not very good at providing a good home for the bacteria that turn nitrites into nitrates, but that biomotion is. So I threw some of that in there to help with that. So it flows down into here into my filter socks. I've got some pot scrubbies in there just to become cycled somewhat, so I can throw them in another tank if I'm trying to quickly cycle it. Comes under this first baffle, up into here, gets mixed around with the K1, comes over the top of this baffle, and I put a rust proof wire mesh as my baffle, to like the weir to let it through but not let the media through. That comes down into here where I have my pump. It's a Jabajo pump. I think that's how you pronounce it. You can find them on Amazon. They're actually really good pumps. They're Chinese made, but they're very, very good. They're very, very quiet. And they're DC pumps, so they're programmable. So it's heated, and then from here, it's pumped back up to the top two tanks. Now the reason I was concerned about water being on the floor is because I just earlier today installed my drip system, which starts over here at my cold water inlet. I've got a flow reducer right here down to a 1/4 inch tube, which then goes over to this big 2-inch pipe. Now inside of here I have several filter media bags stuffed with activated carbon and zeolite. Now the activated carbon takes out the impurities, and the zeolite takes out the ammonia. The active carbon also, if the flow is slow enough, will take out chlorine and chloramine. So I've got just a little drip coming through here, not very much at all. I think it's 50 gallons a day. Haven't measured it, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So that comes all the way over here. I got it held with a little clamp so it doesn't fall out. But you can see it here, just a dripping. Get that back in there, go. Now as the water level rises due to the drip system, you're not going to notice the difference in your tanks, you're going to notice it in your sump. So what I've got here is I've got another overflow, just like every other overflow. I've got it with holes drilled in the cap. So instead of having another weir set over it, I'm having these holes in the cap so that I can see exactly what's going on, but that the K1, if it did happen to get into this thing, can't be sucked down. I had that happen and lost some K1, and that's a very sad thing because it's expensive. But anyway, I had to have a check valve on this as well, which leads up to another aqua lifter pump. Now my thermometer, or my thermometer, my heater is controlled by this handy dandy nifty looking thermostat. The bottom number is what I have it set on, and the top number is what it is actually on. Now it's got a little probe here that I've got stuck in this tank right here. Can't see it, but it's back there. And this is really easy to change, really easy to adjust. This can also control a cooling unit. So there's 2 plugs here, one for heating, one for cooling. So if you have a reef tank and you need some cooling, this will work for you too. Now, the most exciting thing, water changes. Now most people, you've got to get a hose in here, siphon out some water, find another water source and replace it. Or if you're real lucky, you can turn a ball valve and drain some water. Well, I think mine is a lot easier than that. What I do is I come over here to my pump controller, hit the feed button. Now what the feed button does is it stops the pump for 10 minutes so that you can feed without your food being washed down. Now as the water from the tank flows into my sump, it rises above my siphon level right there, my overflow level. Now you can't really see it, but it's doing its little whirlpool thing, sucking it down there. So as the excess water that's coming into the sump is going down the overflow, it's going out the drain. Now how much drains right here? Well, when I hit that feed button and the tanks are all full to capacity, about 20 gallons drains. I haven't checked it exactly, but that's about what drains. Now, after that, I don't have to do anything. I can just walk out of the room because that pump will automatically turn on in 10 minutes. And you say, wait, what about adding fresh water? You know what? I don't have to, because my drip system is set up and it's adding 50 gallons a day. By the end of that day, I've replaced the 20 gallons I just drained. Now, if I want an instant water change because I got some ammonia levels or something, well, I turn right over here. I got this splitter right here. This is just going to a 3/4 inch hose. I stick that right in my sump and fill it on up. Now, I can't do it now while it's half full because it will just drain right down my drain. But after the pump starts, the water level will drop down and I can fill it right back up to the top of that overflow. Maybe add a little prime if you want. It's probably a good idea. So anyway, that's how simple it is. Now, since I have a drip system, I'm not gonna have spikes of ammonia. I'm not gonna have all those problems. I'm probably not gonna have to do a water change. I may have to do one once every 3-4 weeks, if that. But I think I'm gonna come down here every 2 weeks, maybe every week, and do what I just showed you. To do a quick 20-gallon water change and let the drip system fill it back up. That way I'm staying ahead of anything that might happen. Now, the only maintenance this thing needs is what I just showed you, the occasional water change. Feeding, of course, but also, as you can tell, I got bare bottom tanks, and you can see some of the debris from the day's feeding piled up in there. So every morning, every 2 mornings, I'll come in with a little tiny siphon hose, suck it all out. It's pretty easy. Now, I can mix it all up and let it go down the overflow, but I prefer not to have all that gunk in my filter socks. Now, once I get the discus in here, I'm going to be doing that every day, because the discus do not like the detritus decaying on the tanks. So that's that. I'm going to turn back on this pump so you can see how loud it is, which you're actually not going to be able to tell anything, but that's the point. All right, here we go. Pump is on. Now, the cool thing about DC pumps is they don't just start blasting water when you turn them on. They go pretty slowly. You can see the water level dropping there a little bit. So they start real slow and they slowly ramp up to your desired speed that you've set. And there it goes, water level's dropping. Now, this pump was about $89 on Amazon. Free 2-day shipping with Prime, and it pumps out close to 2,100 gallons an hour. So that's definitely more than I need for discus. But I set the system up so that I could breed zebra plecos in the future. It's another fish that I love, one I really want to get into. And yes, they're expensive, and it'd be crazy expensive to breed them, but it's a dream. So that is my breeding system. I'm going to have my 2 sets of pairs in the top. I'm going to have super reds and golden yellows as well. And as they have their fry and the fry become independent, I'll move the fry down into here to grow them out. If I ever need any extra room, I'll build some other things on here and just have them run independently on air. But the main reason that I made this system as one system with a central pump is so that I could have a central drip system and not have to worry about splitting that off to multiple tanks. Plus, the parameters are identical in each tank, so as I move fry around, I'm not gonna have to wait for them to acclimate to anything. I can just move them. Now over here, I just threw this in. The bottom tank is a 30-gallon. Maybe it's no, it's smaller than that. Maybe a 20-gallon tall. I don't know. But I've got my Plecostomus in there, just a common Plecostomus in there. He was in a show tank upstairs, which I moved all the fish down here to help cycle this one. So that's what's going on in there, and I'm just going to let him be in there until he gets a little too big, then I'll find another home for him. This one here, this is a 20-gallon long. This is some fish, some tiger barbs and some albino barbs that some friends couldn't keep anymore. So, the loving fish guy that I am, I had to take them. I couldn't just let them be flushed. Got a couple small plecos in here, as well as a couple shrimp. And those are some live plants as well. Anyway, that is my system. If you have any questions, please comment below. And again, if you know what this cichlid is, please tell me. I'm dying to know. All right, thanks everyone. Have a great day. Subscribe, comment.